You're listening to Ready That Go podcast, where we talk about the mysteries of parenting. My name is Leonard.
And my name is Demian. Among other things, we explore books on parenting and discuss the chapters on this podcast.
Join us on our journey as we attempt to incorporate our new knowledge into everyday fatherhood. Hi everybody, welcome to the last episode of season 1 of Ready That Go podcast. We somehow managed to get to the end, to the final chapter, and we're really looking forward to finishing this and starting the next season. Thank you to all the listeners. Thank you to everyone who got in touch with us, and we still encourage everyone to leave some feedback, to write to us, to subscribe to our channel and profiles on Instagram and Facebook. We will definitely continue with the podcast. Damien, how are you, my friend?
Hey, Leonard. I'm good. Thank you very much. Can't believe we got through that book, eh? It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's really awesome, yeah.
Yeah. It's been such a great journey. Thank you for doing it with me.
Thank you.
And as you said, thanks to the listeners. It made me think maybe there's other ways we can engage with everyone some more. Maybe we have like an open talk session sometime with people that are interested. Just reach out and let us know. Just to talk about things. It doesn't have to be recorded. It doesn't have to be put on YouTube. We can have a proper Zoom chat session because that's what it's really about. And that's what Leonard and I are doing. We just so happen to be recording and sharing, you know. So if anyone else wants to jump on and chat, recorded or not, let us know.
Yeah. Tell me about your week. How's life?
Life's good. I've had some really cool experiences with Jackson this last week. We rented a motorhome last week and we did some exploring around Hungary, and that was so fun. And during this time, we realized, we know that Jack's got a fantastic sense of humor, but we wanted to see how he is with telling jokes. And so we started like asking him jokes and it's like seeing what he gets, what's a bit difficult to get. And one joke that he really liked was, even though I'm sure he doesn't quite get the play on words, but it's quite simple. It's like, how did the chicken cross the road? And the answer is to get to the other side. I told that completely wrong. It's why did the chicken cross the road, not how. Anyway, I should get that's very funny. And so what happened was he started telling his grandparents this joke over Zoom chats. And he does it so well, and he does it with a straight face, like a true comedian. And so that both his grandparents started asking him jokes. And one that really, really stuck to him, and he told it to his mother last night, was such a straight face. It was brilliant. She didn't expect it at all. It was, Mommy, why did the little boy cross the playground? And so, why, Jack, why? To get to the other slide.
Oh my God.
And that was brilliant. Straight face. Carla was in tears. It was brilliant. So this little sense of humor is coming out, and awesome. It's been really, really fun to watch. And when he doesn't get the joke, he's very considerate. He will laugh anyway, and he'll look away like, I don't get that at all, but he still backs up laughing, even though you know he didn't get it. Awesome. So you try out a couple on him, and then one will stick. So, that was fun. Yeah.
Really.
And you? How was your week?
Mine was a bit not as cheerful and colorful as yours. We had a difficult situation. And so a lot of knowledge from the book came in handy in the past week. One of our cats got hit by a car. And as it happens, of course, the cat was Noelle's favorite cat, and she had a really nice relationship with the cat. And I actually saw a police car stopping by our house, and 2 policewomen went out and picked up a dead cat and drove away. And then it's when I figured out, wait a second, our cat is not home. And I searched the whole apartment, and she wasn't at home. And usually when she spent the night out, she would wait for us at the door in the morning. And this morning she didn't wait. So I was immediately a bit suspicious if that wasn't maybe her. So then we called the police, and they say they will bring her to show us if it's her. And so I took Noelle out because we didn't want her to be immediately present, but we didn't tell her immediately what's happening. And we went shopping, and I remember when we were sitting in a car in a parking lot, I was Googling how to tell a 3-year-old that her pet died, right? Her pet died. So then we got back home and explained to her everything exactly as it is. That she got hit by a car, she died, she's not coming back. And we even had her at home because we got her back from police. And then she wanted to see it. And of course, if the child wants to see it, you should allow it. So she just peeked in for real quick. And then in the afternoon, we buried the cat and did a small ritual. We did some drawings and said goodbye. And it was really tough, very sad. And then Noelle, of course, started having nightmares that night about a cat. So it was a couple of rough nights, and storytelling was a really important thing. So we really talked openly about sadness, about crying, about grieving. I managed to cry, my wife cried, we all cried, and Noelle saw us crying. So I think it was good for her to see that it's okay to feel sad. And we retold the story of how she got hit by a car 1,000 times in the past 10 days. And even now, once or twice a day, she would remember, and she would say that she's dead and she's not coming back. So that was a hard time, but at the same time, I was grateful that I had this knowledge and to be able to, I think, be there, present, and not running away from the hard emotions, to allow myself and allow Noelle to feel what she's feeling. So I think it was all in all a good experience of a tough situation, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So that was our week. But other than that, Noelle is growing like a flower, and each day feels like she's a different person and more advanced. So
they change so quickly at this age. Eh? Wow.
Yeah, really quickly.
It reminds me of two things actually. Jack. Just a small anecdote, like Jack's been struggling with this cough for weeks and weeks and weeks, and we've been trying a lot of different things. And the other day we were having this conversation, and it was just about coughing, and he stopped and he said, Dad, I've been coughing for weeks. Like you don't hear that kind of thing from a 3-year-old. And obviously it heard us talking about it so much.
Yeah. And so amazing.
Jackson, you've been coughing for weeks. So he picks up on everything.
And details.
And one of the details, man. And then one of the things that we've been trying out, which was recommended by the doctor, is there's always a little bit of mucus left in his nose. And so the one recommendation is to use the nose sucker, because he struggles to blow his nose. He really has got this thing about his nose. And he hates it. It's like extremely traumatic. And we had a similar experience when we were showing him how to use a nebulizer, which helps loosen up the mucus, right? And when he was much younger, he also obviously initially had to put this thing on his face, and it made a loud noise, but he very quickly got comfortable with it. So we were hoping and assuming that it would be the same with the nose sucking. But it is so traumatic that I don't even know if we can go there. I'm very willing to give up, because he gets into such a state, and and obviously, after every experience, which we speak about in this book, is reflective dialogue, and go over everything about it again, retell the story over and over again, and the experience and the feeling. And we don't do this because we want to hurt you. We're trying to help you. We don't want to hold you. We don't want to do this and make you feel scared. And so that's been one thing that I've been trying to come to terms with, is how do we broach this going forward? Do we leave it? Do we try? So I said to him, like, if you learn how to blow your nose, we won't have to suck your nose anymore. So we're just taking it really slowly, excuse me. And every day I'm showing him like how to blow with one nose. So we do it 10 times. And so just taking it baby step, back to the beginning again, you know, that patience that, you know, you just have to, even though you want his cough to end now because it affects all of us.
Yeah, of
you
course.
Just one step at a time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well done, Leonard, for that whole experience. I mean, to integrate the death of a pet is hectic, bro.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I hope we did a good job.
I think you did.
Anyways, if I continue what you said with Jackson saying his nose been stuffed for weeks, and that's exactly what this chapter starts with, right? It's about the children learn from us, from our behavior and from what we are modeling, not from what we say or what we tell them to do. What they are really mindful to observe, to imitate, to do as we do. And that's
I got a handful of examples.
Me too, right off the bat. So thinking that you will teach children by telling them what to do is wishful thinking, right? Because they will definitely do what you do and they will act as you act. And that, like you said, in every day there's hundreds of examples. And I know, for example, we don't allow our other cat to jump on the table because that's where we eat. So I always scare him, push him off, or call to him to get off. And then sometimes I don't do this very nicely, right? And then you see how Noelia acts to the cat, which is like the exact replica of how I do it, right? So like, no, get off the desk. I was like, oh no, be friendly, right? Be friendly. But how can she be friendly if I'm not friendly and nice to the cat, right? So it's interesting to...
It's absolutely. There's one, like, I don't have a bad habit of biting my nails. Like, I've got it relatively under control, but I do bite them sometimes, or I pick them. And Jackson has a terrible habit of biting his nails, and we're trying really, really hard, you know. And then it's been a good day, and then I'm telling him a story, and I realize subconsciously I'm there picking my nail. And I look at him, and he's watching me, and he says, "Dad, can I do that for you?"
Really?
I'm like, oh no. Absolute fail. Oh my word, that was funny.
It's funny, yeah. And then the chapter talks a lot. It's a final chapter, so it's a really like a rounding up of a lot of things. And I really like the chapter because it's a good overview of what's important. And the things that starts, they say that compassionate self-understanding, right, is a way to promote presence, kindness, compassion, empathy. So how you act towards yourself, or how you deal with yourself and your problems, is how you model these examples to your child. And then the next step, of course, combined with pretend play or storytelling and talking about our emotions and how they affect us, our behavior and stuff like that. That's all like a way to developing this healthy, like you said, coal approach. Will you tell us what coal is?
Yes, coal. It's difficult to, when you're in a moment, to like think, okay, I need to be mindful now. And they speak about a great way to be mindful, and it uses the abbreviation of COAL, which stands for C is curious, O is open, A is for accepting, and L is for loving. And I really like that. It immediately makes me realize and be more in the present, more mindful. I can be curious, open, accepting, and loving. So instead of when I'm in the moment and trying to be more conscious and there, I can use that COAL abbreviation to be more mindful. I liked that. Yeah.
So the chapter is about building or developing Mindsight. And Mindsight is explained as ability to perceive the internal experiences of another person or animal object. So to being aware of inner experience of another person, right? And the whole chapter is about how to develop this compassion and empathy and mindsight. So self-awareness and awareness of other, how to be respectful of yourself and respectful of others and their experiences and their thoughts. And the main pillars of Mindsight, it says it's insight, empathy, and integration. So what Mindsight does is enable the child to see the minds of other people. And that's why it's used, the term Mindsight is used, because it's a very, very important human capacity to live a healthy and full life. And then throughout the chapter, it goes through different elements of the mind, which are what he calls elements of the mind, are thoughts, feelings, sensations, perceptions, memories, beliefs, attitudes, and intentions. And before that, there was a couple of things that is explained, and for me it was interesting because he explains the difference between compassion and empathy, because I always thought this was the same thing. But he explained that compassion is feeling what other person is feeling. So you actually experience what other person is experiencing through mirror neurons. And empathy is understanding, like this complex cognitive understanding of what the other person is experiencing or thinking, right? So there is a difference. Also, he does says that even empathy does have right brain involved in it, but that's the main difference. So that was interesting, interesting to read about. And I don't know, maybe we could talk about a bit about these elements, because I think they're nicely explained and there is a lot of stuff we can talk about. So the first are thoughts. So any thoughts on that?
Thoughts is a good one, because once again you have your left and your right mode of thoughts, and I've realized that I always knew it, but I didn't know how strong left mode dominant I can be. I am very linear, logical, and analytical. And right mode is where your feelings and sensations are. And so thoughts, when I'm trying to deal with emotions and I'm asking Jackson, for example, to express his emotions, or how are you feeling? I realize when I'm reflecting on myself, like, how am I feeling? I can easily kind of like try and analyze it, but to bring my emotions to the forefront is something that I struggle with. So besides teaching Jackson to be in touch with his emotions, it's also, and his feelings, I'm having to let go the analytical side of thought and really get more in touch with my own feelings. It kind of leads into the next element of mind.
And also what I like about thoughts is just the different what the left brain thought is and the right brain thought, where left is more word based, linear, and the right is more images and disorganized, no linear. So, and I like how it says that you should be mindful of this when talking about thoughts with your child, right? Because especially young kids, they don't really have developed left way of thinking very linearly, but they are more all over the place. And when you talk about stories, they're like images. There is no like order to what they are thinking, or there is more and more. But true. So that's what I liked about it.
That's true. It makes me think, like when I tell a lot of made up stories as well with Jackson, and I try and use my hands a lot, and you can actually almost see it in his face. Like if I start describing something or a tree and I'm showing how the tree is built, you can see that he's imagining it. And a visual image of this tree. Not a analytical, okay, a tree's a tree kind of thing. And it's humbling to remember and realize that.
I agree.
Yeah.
So the next one are feelings.
Yeah.
Any feelings about those?
Loads. I'm learning all about them, it feels like, for the first time again. Feelings is an emotion. Feelings are the awareness of inner emotions. So we all have them, and I'm learning to understand them again. So it feels like we're both on a similar path where he's very in touch with them and I'm learning to be in touch with them. So that's quite interesting.
Yeah.
And they're the categorical emotions, which you can easily put into different categories, namely sadness, anger, fear, shame, surprise, joy, and disgust. But there are so many more to that. And the more you learn about them, you can easily speak about them and put them into words. And it's a lot of work. And I think I'm just brushing the surface.
Yeah. This chapter talks a lot about, and we'll talk about it, is this reflective dialogue, right? And when it comes to feeling, it's really important to talk about these feelings, emotions with your child, what he's experiencing, how is he experiencing, is he feeling something good or bad, is naming the emotions so the children become more aware and that they're able to experience these emotions or feelings. So that's what I liked about this chapter.
Yeah. I had something else to say about that, and it's just slipped my mind. It'll come back.
Of course. Sensations are the next interesting one.
Yeah.
So sensations are something that myself and probably a lot of other people are not very mindful of, not really focused or aware of bodily sensations or any other sensations. But research suggests that they are vital clue to knowing what has meaning for us or what doesn't have meaning for us. So it says that they are a really rich source of insight and wisdom. So how your body reacts, what your body is feeling and stuff like that. So we talked about it a couple of times already while reading this book, but just talking with your kids about what are they feeling in their body, how is their stomach feeling, is their heart racing, is the neck tight, their shoulders tight and stuff like that. And it's really interesting because right now, last week, Noelle had a stiff neck one morning, right? So it would be really useful to talk about it and how does it feel. But we just helped her and gave her some scarves, and she actually stayed at home because it was so bad, right?
Yeah.
But it would help to talk about it.
And that reminded me of what I wanted to say is this stigma, this like common thing in our communities today is speaking of emotions, and the reason why we kind of don't observe our sensations is there's this negative thing about vulnerability and making you look weak by expressing or acknowledging one's emotions.
Yeah.
And honestly, through other research on personal development, almost every person that I admire, any celebrity that I look up to in the business world, successful individuals, they all speak how beneficial it is to listen to one's body when it comes to sensations, how you are feeling. Also for intuition, to think, is this the right choice that I'm making in big business decisions? How does my body, my sense of these feelings really relate to what I'm dealing with?
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important to, a reason why it's so important to help our children understand our feelings at such a young age and throughout their upbringing.
Yeah.
It makes them so much more self-confident and aware of who they are.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the next one, which is perceptions. What do you think about this one?
Each person has his or her own perception of reality. We're all unique individual people and we see this world differently, and we have to remember that. Like,
Yeah.
just because I see something some way, one way, it doesn't mean, even if my whole belief structure is very similar to somebody else, it doesn't mean that they see it in the same way. And we have to remember that with our children too.
Yeah, because it's really easy of going into the way of thinking that your perception is the only correct perception of the world, right?
Absolutely. So easy.
Yeah.
So easy. And that's a big struggle with society in general. Because we also do need something firm to believe in. And it's sometimes very difficult to accept that somebody else's different beliefs or perception of something.
I like how he talks about also, sorry, did you?
Yeah, go ahead.
The metacognition, right? The thinking
Yes.
about thinking.
Yeah, I love that.
And it's a process that children learn quite young. I think they started learning about it at quite young. So we start understanding that something appears a certain way, but it's not that way that we perceive it to be, right? For example, I don't know, TV cartoons, right? Young children might believe they're real, but older children know they're just cartoons and stuff like that.
Right, exactly. And real animation and stuff like that, realism on TV, yeah.
Yeah.
It's so important to talk through those experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What we did a couple of times, which is really interesting, and I see it's connected with perception, is when we were reading a book to Noel, for example, the three small piggies that get chased around with a wolf. First, we would read the actual story, and then we would retell the story in a different way, in a way that the wolf was actually just wanted to make friends with the piggies, and that he was completely misunderstood, and that he coughed and their houses were blew up. Then he wanted to apologize, and the piggies were running away. And it was really interesting to see Noelle with big eyes listening to this version of the story, because it's completely different, right? It's different understanding.
So the wolf is actually quite cool.
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting to think about these things and how people are perceived, and that all things are not as we perceive them, right? It can be very different.
Totally. I had a similar story with that. He wants to be a policeman at the moment, besides a fireman and a pilot and a number of other things. But the policeman is the leading theme at the moment. And so he wants to play cops and robbers. Daddy, you're the baddie, I'm the policeman. Or Daddy, I want to be the baddie now. You need to chase me, you're the policeman. And as fun as that is, I also really, really want him to internalize that police aren't only there to catch the bad men, but they're there to help us. They're there to help society and be there for us. And so I'm trying to think of ways to reenact the story of how he perceives what a policeman is.
Really cool,
Yeah.
The next one is memories.
Yes.
We talked a lot about memories in this book.
We have.
Implicit and explicit. So, like we said many times, it's important to help them integrate the implicit and explicit memory, right?
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add about?
Well, there's two main things that it's important about talking about experiences with your children. One is that the more you talk about their day, for example, or experiences they've had, the better their memory becomes.
Yeah.
Your brain is like, you can train your brain, you know, so the more you talk about it, the more you use it, the better it gets at remembering things, for example.
Yeah.
It also helps make sense of ourselves and over time.
Yeah.
And so the more you're reflecting with your son, you benefit as well. I realized that at the end of the day, when we're having dinner, we often ask Jackson, how was your day? And he often gets to it before us. He'll say, Daddy, how was your day? Because he wants to hear our story. He's not so keen on telling his story. So I will start quite happily and I'll tell him about my day. And often I get this Groundhog Day feeling, like I just kind of tick off the things that I did. Okay, so I woke up, I did this and I did that and I did that. And I realized, well, that's not very interesting for Jackson. So I need to go into the experience itself and what I felt at that point. And doing more digging definitely benefits. Camera trouble.
Yeah, we crossed the half-hour mark.
It's our last episode. We can go.
Yeah, we can go. Exactly, yeah.
So once again, memories, strengthen our memories later on in life. It can only serve us well.
Yeah, I also, what I really like about it is that you can construct the story of the day, right? He talks about before bedtime, you can tell the story of the day, how the day went. So Noelle got up at this moment, she brushed her teeth, and she went to the kindergarten, come back. And so this is a really good way of also strengthening the memory. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
Very good.
Beliefs are the next one.
Yeah.
This.
So beliefs and perception of reality is an interesting.
Beliefs he describes.
Similarities.
Yeah, he describes them as theories of how the world works, right? So it's an interesting one, and it's also interesting how to encourage or talk with your children about it, so you can have open-ended questions, right? What do you think about why that happened, or what is your idea about how this works, or stuff like that. So it's an interesting one, yeah.
It's also a topic that is very personal.
Yeah.
And it's also a topic that can create a lot of theoretically tension between different belief systems and what we believe in.
Yeah.
And
so it's a very
I mean, my personal view, and everyone is absolutely must have their own beliefs, is that giving that very strong foundation is very important, but also help our children to develop their own belief system.
Yeah. So it's
with a proper moral and ethical foundation.
Yes. So I think it's just important to be open-minded and just listen to your child and his points of view, right? Because a lot of chances are they will be different than your points of view later on in life. So, but that's okay. Yeah. And then the next one is attitudes, which I think they're similar to beliefs, but only a lot shorter lived. So they are temporary states of mind. So it affects how we approach different situations in our lives. So I liked at this part how he talks about that when the child has a meltdown or a tantrum, that later on it's important to talk about it and name it. It was a tantrum or a meltdown or whatever. So
how would you, do you want to define attitudes again for me? I need it to be more clear in my mind, because it feels a little bit ambiguous if it's not clearly defined, I feel.
It explains it, and it's similar to belief, but it's much shorter. It's temporary state of mind, whereas beliefs are for longer periods. They also change, but belief systems are much more rooted in you, and attitudes are beliefs that are temporary. So it's how we respond, perceive to different situations, so how we approach different situations.
So, for example, something that you don't like doing, you can change your attitude about it by thinking about how you feel once that task is done.
I guess so, yeah.
In a very simple micro environment.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it shapes, like attitudes shapes how we feel about things and how we behave towards these situations, right? So they can be good or bad, right? Because attitude it has like this negative sound to it, but it's not always negative, right? It can be just your attitude towards things, but you
can have a positive or a negative attitude in the simplest form.
Exactly. And then the last one is intentions, which I also think are quite interesting, because intentions can be really good, but your actions can still affect someone in a negative way. And with children, that's especially the case when they are not in control of their movement or words and everything, and their intention is to caress a cat but they will caress it really roughly and the cat will run away, right? So
Yeah.
it's interesting.
Totally. And that thing where, I mean, Jackson loves to give a friend a hug or a stranger a hug in the park, and he comes in quite seemingly aggressive and starts crying. And, but why is he crying? I just wanted to give him a hug. And to explain how one's intention can be perceived differently by individuals.
Yeah.
And to also how they can perceive our intentions very differently. If our intention is to have a specific result, they can perceive it completely different. So to explain what outcome we wanted from a situation will help them understand our actions.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's really important then to talk with your child about what happened, right?
Yes.
What your child's intentions was and what the other person was feeling. And so this reflective dialogue on helping understand your child, what the other person experienced when he did that or stuff like that. So
Yeah.
So I think these are all the elements of the mind, and the last thing to talk about is the reflective dialogue and the importance of it, which I think we already did talk about it quite a lot throughout the book, right?
We did. I don't know, Leonard, it's quite a difficult question, but if you were to summarize this book, how would you summarize it?
Summarize this book.
Yeah, if someone asked you, so Leonard, you've read this book and you've done this podcast. What's it about?
I would say it's a book about parenting that approaches parenting first from an inside point of view, which means you yourself have a history, and you're living that history in different ways every day. And it's important to shed light on the history and become aware of your either that's unresolved issues or traumas or just the patterns of how your parents act towards you and how you now are acting towards your child. So I think this book is first about having a compassionate, gentle self-reflection about yourself, your childhood, your experiences, your emotions, your thinking, everything. So be gentle and compassionate about yourself, and be brave about digging deep and not being afraid, because your history and your time spent on this planet affects your parenting and your everyday relationships. Like, I think this is the first part of the book, is being more aware of yourself and be gentle towards your way of life or acting, behavior, everything.
Yeah, don't be so judgmental of yourself.
Yeah, that's I think what the book is firstly about. And the second part is how with this self-compassion, that's already the first step towards helping your child to develop a healthy brain, healthy attitudes, healthy ways of dealing with emotions. So just a healthy way of growing up. That's the first, is by modeling, right? It's if you're gentle with yourself, the child will learn how to be gentle. And then the second part also is helping your child be aware of his own internal and external states, his internal worlds and external worlds, his emotions, thoughts, feelings. Help him be aware of them and help them understand them and live with them. So not just the mind and thinking, but emotions and stuff like that. So it's important to help your child be aware of everything he is experiencing and helping him put words to these experiences. So, and that he is not afraid of the emotion he's feeling throughout the life, right?
Yeah.
So I think that awareness is a really big part of this book. Awareness of yourself, of your inner worlds, of your child's self, child's inner worlds, and just to be aware and mindful of these things. I think that's how I would summarize it. How would you?
You did a very good job. If I was to summarize it, it's about looking at yourself so that you can be aware of who you are when you relate to your child, and to bring be conscious, be mindful, Cole, of the way you interact with the world yourself. So now I am much more aware of my actions and reactions, and this book helps a parent reflect on yourself and interact with your child more consciously.
And another part I would just add, one is being aware of yourself, and the other part is being in control and flexible in your responses towards your child, towards the world, right? Not just be aware, but to be able to respond in the way you want to respond, not from some impulses or automations, right?
Totally.
So
and to catch oneself when we become impulsive.
Yeah, exactly. So that's, I think it's another really important, to be aware of yourself, your history, of your child, and to be in control or to consciously respond to the world and your child.
Yeah.
So I think that's summarized goodly.
What's next then, Leonard? We're going to have
I have another small story.
Okay.
I just want to share a small victory because it's a chapter about modeling. I had Noelle really likes to lie on the floor in the morning when she wakes up in the bathroom for half an hour, of course, when we're in a hurry to go to preschool, because the bathroom has floor heating, so it's warm.
Oh, nice.
So she really likes to lie there. And this week it was the same situation. She lied on the floor, and I was getting nervous already because she really takes her time. And then I said to her, Noelle, come on, let's cooperate with one another. Let's not get angry with one another, right? Let's just cooperate so we don't have to be angry. Yeah. She looked at me and said, but Dad, it's okay to be angry. You can be angry. I'm also angry, and my mommy is also angry. It's nothing wrong if you're angry. So like, okay, so
brilliant.
That's brilliant. That's one small victory. Like, okay, anger is allowed in our house. That's good.
Oh my word, that's a good story. I love it.
Yeah, that's maybe for the conclusion of this book. I
got some bad news for you. My recording stopped, and I don't know when it stopped. My audio is recording, so this is a podcast, but you'll be talking to yourself at the end of this video as well.
No worries, I'll freeze your face.
I think it's the first time we've recorded this long.
Yeah,
got to get our tech all sorted.
Yeah.
Next
So
season.
I think we'll take a bit of a break, right? And choose the next book and then continue.
Yeah, I agree.
The second book and see where that takes us. It was a really fun process of doing this. So thank you, Damien, again.
Thank you too, Leonard. This was amazing.
Yeah.
I learned a lot about myself, and I'm very grateful that I had a platform to share with the world as well.
Yeah. Me too.
With you. So thank you.
And thank you to all the listeners. I hope this was as fun for you listening as it was for us. And we really do recommend taking this book in your hands, reading it, because it does shed some light on your life and makes a lot of things much easier and nicer and more fun.
And on that note, I think it's a lot easier to do it with someone.
Yeah.
To go through that process. Be it your partner or a very, very close friend of yours that you can trust and talk about things. Yeah. It's one thing to read the book, another thing to reflect on it. That reflective dialogue is key to all of this, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
So take care, Damien.
All right. Take care, my friend. Until the next one.
Bye-bye.
Bye.